Good morning and welcome to TalkTimeRadio.com. On the world's greatest radio, you are in touch with the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, and I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. And this is radio the way it should be heard. The phone lines are going to be open. We're going to try to get to your calls if we can. If not, we will have an alternative method of doing that. But if you'd like to call in, get ready by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numeral 7MrBobby at gmail.com. And I have 33, 34, 35, about 40 emails. So chances are I won't get to it. But if I can, I will. Or if we have to go to another alternative way of producing the program, then we will attempt to do that. Thank you for listening today. We are delving into our second week in the sixth area of people activity, which is called politics. And on the line, live from Washington, D.C., we have Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And Mr. Fuller, good morning, and how are you this day?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
I
can barely hear you.
Okay. Now, see, let me get this up here. Okay, now can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. As we attempt to go into the sixth area of people activity, which is politics, for those who didn't get a chance to listen to last week's show, just briefly, could you explain what do you mean by politics?
Politics, according to what I've written, is a much broader term than what is usually thought of. And I think it's accurate. It's not, I just didn't make it broader just to be making it broader. I thought it was an improvement over the concept of politics. And politics is simply people interaction, or you might call people relations. And anything that people do in contact with other people is political. Sometimes people will say, well, you can't mix religion with politics. I think that logically speaking, that's incorrect, because religion is political if it has anything to do with people. Politics has to do with any interaction between people. So if you're going to have a functioning religion, you have to have people interacting with each other. Preachers refer to in the Christian religion as their congregation, which means they are relating to people. They are interacting with people. They are talking to people from the pulpit on Sundays, usually. And they interact with people, I mean, in many, many other ways, according to their religious principles. You can't have a religion without people. Religions directed toward people in the traditional sense, and not other creatures. People are usually expected to be involved in religion. So if people are interacting with each other, that's politics. Anytime a person says good morning to another person, that's political. That's a political interaction. That's basic politics. Politics is not just going to the polls and voting. That is a form of politics, a segment of it, but that's not the general segment. The general segment is anything that people do or say, one person interacting with another, is political. And that's the way I have it in the book. And I think that that's accurate, because I think that that's logical, and I think that that is also constructive. It's supposed to be constructive. Accurate, logical, and constructive. That particular definition. People interaction, people relations, political, politics, polite, police, all has to do with people.
Okay. Continuing on with the program, going into the book, your book that you wrote, the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, the revised expanded edition, which we will have you explain a little earlier. But we're going to start today on page 171, and we will go into the law of interaction. What is the law of interaction?
Page 171, you say?
Yes, sir, of the revised expanded edition of the concept.
Oh, well, I have here, reading from it, it says, what is the compensatory law of interaction between people? And the answer is, it seeks to be in contact. You seek to be in contact with another person only when necessary to do so in order to say or do something of needed constructive value. Now, that's the way basic politics is supposed to work, meaning the only time any person should be in contact with another person is when it's necessary to do so in order to say or do something that is needed and that is of constructive value. At all other times, seek to be alone. And I put alone in quotes, because you're always interacting with your environment and all like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, a person can make a case that you are never really alone. Within a religious context, you're spiritually not alone, because you're breathing, which means you have some type of contact with your environment and some type of contact with whatever may have kept you breathing. So that's the spiritual world, you might say. So, but you're talking about alone as far as being around other people. You should actually seek to be alone when you are not around other people, and when you're around other people, either deliberately or by happenstance, you should always do or say something that is constructive. Otherwise, don't do anything at all.
Okay.
It's got to be constructive.
Okay.
And that's what that's all about, the compensatory law of interaction.
Okay. Now, in the system of racism, white supremacy, and you made this statement or suggestions, why is that necessary to do in the system of racism, white supremacy?
It's necessary to do. Otherwise, you have, in the system of racism, among all people, you have an arrangement that I call it the 3 T's of the arrangements between people, the 3 T's of politics, and that is the tragic, or rather, it's not the 3 T's, but it's actually, it actually is the 3 T's: tacky, trashy, terroristic. I call it the tragic arrangement, and that's the 3 T's: tacky, trashy, terroristic. 1, 2, 3. And that's how people in the system of white supremacy interact with each other. All interactions between this artificial construct called racism and or white supremacy, all interactions between people don't get any better than tacky. You can see that the way people interact with each other in an office or in a warehouse, it's really tacky. It's tacky, and if you try to improve on the tackiness, everything is so artificial, everything is so surface. If you try to improve on that tackiness, then sometimes people will say, well, loosen up. Don't be so uptight and whatnot. What that usually means when they say loosen up, they mean get trashy. You go from tacky to trashy. You start talking trash. You start speaking in a trashy manner. You start using all kind of vulgarity and whatnot. You be profane. That's just the way it usually works. Loosen up. That's what they mean by loosening up. Hey, everybody around here is so uptight, kind of loosen up and whatnot. Well, when you start loosening up, it gets trashy, particularly between non-white people and white people. in the system of white supremacy. And then if you try to improve on the trashiness, then it goes from trashy to terroristic. I mean, then everybody starts getting hostile. They start saying derogatory things or doing derogatory things or name-calling or something like that or gossiping. It just gets hostile, which is terroristic. Tacky, trashy, terroristic. And this is why people should minimize, as best they can, all contact with each other, even in an office setting or in the employment setting, wherever you work and whatnot. Just don't say anything to anybody unless it's what? Constructive. Always stop and think. Is what this thing I'm fixing to say, is it going to be constructive, or is it going to be some type of gossip or something derogatory or something that's going to make the work atmosphere worse than it already is? Stop and think before you even say anything at the lunch breaks or whatever, around the lunch table and whatnot. All that loose talk, tacky, trashy, and sometimes terroristic. Fights break out sometimes. It gets that far. Or just on the edge of some type of altercation of some type. A lot of times the verbal altercations did start out that way, but tacky, trashy, terroristic, 1, 2, 3. It usually goes in that direction. Why? Because it starts off being tacky. Because you can't get any better than tacky in a system of racism. Because the system of racism itself is a tacky way for people to interact with each other. Mm-hmm. And that's the dominant government on the entire planet, according to what? The evidence.
Okay. One of our Gmails had this to say, a question. It said, Mr. Fuller, if we can globally wake up from our 6 centuries sleep of perpetual confusion and miseducation, as a result, we can individually all over the world stop the global business system of white supremacy, racism, in its track through our thoughts, speech, and action, but only if we decide to. Many non-white people all over the world have grown accustomed to being mistreated and subjugated everywhere and every day. Mr. Fuller, what can we do to fix this problem?
Start as an individual to have a quality relationship. And I just outlined the procedure would be always think in terms of doing and saying something that is of constructive value. Mm-hmm. Nothing non-constructive when you interact with another person, wherever you happen to be. If every non-white person on the planet, since the book that I've written is directed to the victims of racism, the racists are kind of dedicated to being racist and continuing to be so and to glorify that and to continue to do that. But we should be in the process actively taking action. But we want to just not take any kind of action, just go into it just blindly, any kind of old way. We should have a code of thought, speech, and action that always produces a constructive result, which means you have to do some thinking. Think before you speak. And after you speak, if you're going to engage in an action, because speaking is a form of action, but if you're going to take any kind of action, you should always think in terms of this thing that I'm fixing to say, this thing that I'm fixing to do, is it likely to produce a constructive result? And that's in every move that you make, in every area of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, you meaning on a job or something like that, law, if you interact with law enforcement, politics, just general interaction with people, which is what we're talking about now, general interaction between people, religion, in your religious comings and goings, is it going to have a constructive result? When you practice your religion, which you're supposed to be practicing your religion all the time, otherwise you're not practicing your religion. If you're not practicing it all the time, whatever your religious your religion requires you to do, you're supposed to be doing it. Otherwise, you can't claim that you have that religion. And then sex, the way that you go about involving yourself in sex, is it going to produce a constructive result? That means you have to set maybe new criteria. I mean, there's a lot of chaos going on in the sexual field now. So you just keep in mind, in every area of activity, sex, religion, labor, politics, education, what you're going to say and what you're going to do, is it going to have a constructive result, a quality relationship? And then, of course, in war, well, war is supposed to be a counter-war, rather, is supposed to be against war, because the only war that's really going on now is the war by the white supremacists against the people who are the victims of white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
All other so-called wars are battles, really.
Okay.
Because the system of white supremacy is the only real war taking place on the planet. But you try to conduct yourself as best you can in a manner in that war that's going to produce the most constructive result. Even in war and counter-war, that area of activity,
yes,
which is covered in the textbook for victims of white supremacy,
yes,
that you can get by going to producejustice.com.
Mm-hmm. I like the way you segued that in there. Good one, Mr. Fuller. Let's take a call. Go ahead, caller. You're now on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning. My name
Could
is
you,
JR.
yeah, speak up. Yes, okay, go ahead.
Yes, my name is JR, calling from Los Angeles, and I have two questions for Mr. Fuller.
Okay, let's do number one first. And first of all, Mr. Fuller, could you hear him?
I can hear it.
Okay, go ahead.
The question I have is, who determines what is constructive and not constructive? Is it the individual?
Oh, everybody has to determine that. I mean, by going by trial and error, because in a system of racism, we are told that a lot of things are constructive that are not constructive at all. I mean, everything is so artificial. I mean, the way people interact with each other, they'll say that, that this is correct conduct, and this is proper conduct. And when you examine it, it turns out to be something that may not be of constructive value. You can always tell whether it's constructive or not by the result. You can tell when something is causing pain to someone, because usually someone who is being pain will let you know that they're in pain, and they'll let you know why. It's something that somebody is doing, or something that somebody says. See, it's a matter of trial and error, really, but you always be in the mode of doing your best to do whatever is going to have a constructive result. And you can do this by always following that principle of solving problems, which is what? The process of what? Questions and answers. In other words, you'll say, now, I'm proposing this. Say if you're making a proposal on the job, and then after you make this proposal around a table about how to improve the work conditions, the work environment, then you ask questions. You say, now, does anybody have any disagreements or anybody have any reservations about what is being proposed? Ask that question. Just don't put it out there to people and walk away. Ask the question. Now, this thing that we're fixing to do, is everybody on board with this? Does anybody see where this is going to be harmful to someone? Is someone going to be harmed? If anybody's going to be harmed, we're going to have to re-examine this thing that we're fixing to do, because we're not supposed to bring harm to anybody. Otherwise, we won't have that thing that we should always be trying to achieve, called justice. So it's a matter of, as you proceed along in doing anything, you check with people. Constantly check. Say, is everybody okay? Is everybody okay with this? Is everybody on board with this? And if not, say so. And say why. And we'll re-examine it and try to iron out whatever is incorrect. That's how you find out what is constructive. Constantly ask questions and get answers to the questions.
Mm-hmm.
Don't skip over a question. Don't say, well, I mean, we don't have time for that, blah, blah, blah. No, back up, because you got to take time sometimes in order to produce or be in the process of producing justice, you have to kind of slow down.
Okay. And what was your second question, quickly, sir?
My second question is regarding your statement or suggestion to minimize contact with other individuals unless it's constructive. Should a victim of racism, white supremacy, attempt marriage? Or do you suggest
I have recommended that in the system of white supremacy, victims of racism can't be married. But we can at least, if you want to, which I did, I mean, you go through the motions of doing the best you can. You can attempt it, but you call it that. It's an attempted marriage. But you really can't have a marriage if you're a non-white on this planet with anybody under the system of white supremacy. Why? Because our status does not allow it. We're prisoners of war. Prisoners of war cannot be married. That's just the way it works. You can't be a prisoner of war and be married because you can't carry out all the marital obligations. Why? Because you're prisoners of a foreign force. And if you're non-white in the system of white supremacy, you are a prisoner of war to the white supremacists. That's what white supremacy means. Antagonistic victimization. And when you're in that status, you are beholden to your prison masters. So therefore, you can't make any commitment. You can do it verbally, you can try it, you can attempt it in a prison. You can attempt to be married, but you can't guarantee anything, even though you will verbally say that you're guaranteeing that I will do this for you, I will do that for you. You can't guarantee anything. If you're black, you cannot guarantee anything to a black female on this planet. You cannot make that guarantee.
Okay.
Because that guarantee has to be backed up by what? By a foreign force, which is the white supremacy.
White supremacy, right. Okay, thank you for your call.
Can I make one?
Talktainment Radio is a 24/7, no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news and lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, here are a couple, or at least three, I'd like to share with you. One is called Real Men. It's Your Time to Travel, and The Kinsman. Now, all these shows are exclusive to TalkTainmentRadio.com, and all you have to do is go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage and click on programs for the schedules times. All this is from TalkTainmentRadio.com. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Our topic, again, this week is the law, and you may call in by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, at gmail.com. And while you go into the homepage, on the right-hand side underneath the phone number, there is a donate button, and you might want to hit that. I'm trying to get an updated figure as to where we are on donations. I think we were up to $3,800, which means that we are $300 short, but I will try to get an update for you. Let's go to the phone lines, and caller number 2, you're on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question?
Good morning. Can I be heard?
What is your question?
Yes, sir. Can Mr. Fuller hear me?
Yes, he can hear you.
Okay. I was the caller that called about the derivative last week because I wanted to ask, does Mr. Fuller think that the areas of activity of economics, education, and labor, is it the most important 3 areas of activity to end white supremacy?
Okay, Mr. Fuller?
The question was economics, education, and what?
Labor.
Labor?
Yes, sir.
No, all of them are important. All areas of activity are interactive. One merges into another. They are, they almost seamless, you might say. I just segmented it for some type of clarity or some type of structure. But actually, whatever happens in economics is going to affect whatever happens in religion. Whatever happens in religion is going to affect what happens in politics. What happens in politics is going to affect what happens in labor. Whatever happens in labor is going to affect what happens in law. and on and on and on. You can go back and forth. You can pick any area of activity, whatever area of activity you pick. I have them orchestrated and segmented in alphabetical order in the book. But you can switch them around. It will still mean the same thing. One doesn't take precedence over the other. Whatever happens in one area of activity will certainly have a sizable effect on every other area of activity. This is why the white supremacists in their strategy, when they go among non-white people, all they have to do is get control of one area of activity, and the rest of the areas of activity will fall right into that pulpit.
All righty. Thank you very much for your call, caller. Okay. Let's see here. Let's do this. This is from Dr. Edward, Mr. Fuller. He says this, greetings, Mr. Fuller. A few days ago, alt-right leader Richard Spencer was a guest on a talk show explaining how his brand of white supremacy is different from the mainstream. It was strange to hear a white supremacist so calmly explain himself. Then I remembered something you said, Mr. Fuller, about white supremacists are very polite and even act friendly, and we should always listen to what they have to say. My question for you, Mr. Fuller, is if we come across as a person that tells us they are a white supremacist, then what questions should we ask them?
Oh, you ask people, period. Any question that you have that you think they have the answer to that will produce a constructive result. Always ask questions with the intention of producing a constructive result. And so the counter-racist codification or codification of any kind should just be focused on that one goal. See, that's the main goal you think about when you interact with anyone. We're talking about politics here, which means interaction between people. When you interact with anyone, just stay focused on that basic law. This thing that I'm fixing to say, this question I'm fixing to ask, when I get an answer, is the answer most likely to produce a constructive result? Do I have a constructive result question? All right? So you can, when you're talking to anybody, interacting with anybody, white or non-white, just keep the focus on constructive activity. And it will always, that one focus will take everybody right where they need to go if you stay centered there. Just keep your ear and your mind and your eye on the word constructive, constructive, constructive all the time. Or you can use the word quality, quality relationships. I usually put that in capital letters. I have it in the textbook for victims of racism in capital letters. The quality relationship. That's what everybody on the planet should be aiming for, white and non-white. The quality relationship between people, all quality, regardless of age or whatnot, regardless of the circumstances. Try to aim to have the quality relationship, which means producing a constructive result every time you interact with anybody.
Yes, sir. TalkTameItRadio.com. We go where you go. Check us out on 94.1 WGRN. Podcasts are available. Download the TalkTameItRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. TalkTameItRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTameItRadio.com app to your cell or tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Our topic this week again, and for the next few weeks, will be the law. And if you'd like to call in, you may at 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. Before we go to the caller, Mr. Fuller, could you speak very briefly about your book and where we can get it?
You can get the book by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. And what will come up on the screen is a brief description of the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept That's a long title, but there's a supplementary title, a complementary title, a compensatory counter-racist code. And also there's an extension to that book, the basic book, called a compensatory counter-racist codified word guide, because some years ago I made the assessment that in order to deal with racism, you have to deal with a lot of words, because the racists are the master of words, all words, in any language. They master these words, and they use the language in any language. They use words in any language to help support the concept and the practice of racism, which is white supremacy. And they're very skilled at it. So therefore, people have to make themselves familiar with, in whatever language they usually use, that's the non-white people of the world, make themselves familiar as best they can with the way that words are used in whatever language the white supremacist is speaking at the time, and pay attention to the words, because words motivate people to conduct themselves in various ways. So words are very powerful. The way people communicate with each other, they're inspired by, or they're depressed by, or they go to sleep by words that are given to them to use. So you pay attention to the way these words are used and the definitions that go with the words. A lot of words do not have clear definitions, and you want that cleaned up, because the whole purpose for using a word is to communicate. Words are tools of communication. It's like a pair of pliers that's used to do a particular job. A word is the same thing. So the book itself is just a conglomeration of words, the compensatory code, the counter-racist code. So it's all about how you use words that will form what? The way that people think, and then that will be in connection with the way people speak, and that will be in connection with the way people do the final thing, and that is act. Thought, speech, action. It all starts with the way people think, and then the way they speak to each other, that's communication, and then they act on the way that they think and speak.
All righty.
That's the equation.
Yes, sir.
You can get the book by going to producejustice.com.
Pardon me. Okay.
Everything is about do's and don'ts.
Yes, sir. Okay, let's go to the phone lines. You are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller, and you can be heard. What is your question? And could you cut down your radio there? We're hearing noise in the background. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, caller. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just calling because I agree with everything Mr. Fuller's saying, and I've bought 2 of his books, and I have to buy 3 more books. And I've passed a couple of books on to a couple of graduate students from college that are kind of aware of what's going on, but it's really kind of sparked their interest. And I have a corporate friend that's in a high corporate in American business, and I've given it to him, and it sparked his interest. So I just wanted to say that I totally agree with it, and I do everything in a compensatory fashion because of Mr. Fuller and reading his book that I have to buy more copies of, because I can't even get them in Baltimore because it's sold out in everyone's place.
Yes, sir.
But I'll say this. I tell people this. Our labor is one of the most important things we have, if not the most important things people have, is labor. And I know I live in Baltimore, and it's a lot of communities are raggedy and tore down in Baltimore and dirty. And I tell people, they always say, what can we do? I say, well, the first thing you do is get out and clean up your neighborhood. You know, if you live in a clean place, that always makes you feel better. It makes me feel better to live in a clean place. So use your labor, which is free to you, in a constructive manner, to first do that. You know, do something constructive. I wake up every day, do my best to do something constructive every single day. So I just want to thank Mr. Fuller for that, and you gentlemen have a great day.
Okay, thank you for your contribution and your comment there. Let's go to the phone lines again. Line number 3. Number 2. Okay, line number 2. You are now on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead.
Good morning, gentlemen. I have a question with regards to individuals who are victims of racism, white supremacy, but go above and beyond as far as being complicit with assisting the system of white supremacy for personal gain. should those individuals should other victims of white supremacy be notified of those individuals, similar to Mr. Fuller's opinion about murderers?
Oh.
Should all victims know about the character of these type of people?
Okay, Mr. Fuller?
Oh, well, I don't think I quite grasp the meaning of the question.
Should people be exposed, if I'm understanding him correctly, who assist the white racist in white supremacy? Should those people should they be exposed just like people who go out and kill somebody? In other words, should they stand by their work also in the system of racism, white supremacy?
Should people be exposed?
Yeah, for assisting the racist.
People who are assisting racism?
Yes, yeah, black people who are assisting the racist in the system of racism, white supremacy. Should they be exposed just like somebody that goes and shoots somebody or kills somebody? Should they also stand up for their work?
Well, there's according to the code, everybody should stand by his or her work.
Yes.
But if you're talking about broadly speaking, all victims of racism support the system of racism, because all victims of racism are functioning prisoners of war.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are a prisoner of war or a prisoner of any kind, you are supporting the prison system by being a prisoner. The only way that you cannot support the prison system is not be a prisoner.
That's right.
Okay? So all non-white people on the planet support the system of white supremacy, because all non-white people are prisoners of that system. It's just one government on the planet. There are no other governments. The white supremacists will tell you there are a whole lot of different types of governments, and this type of government over here and that type of government over there, and these are all sovereign nations and all that type of thing. It's only one nation on this planet, on this planet called Earth, and that's the white nation.
That's the white nation.
And that is a white supremacist nation. And it dominates all other so-called nations of non-white people. So these are non-nations.
Okay.
There's no such thing as a non-white nation on this planet.
On this planet.
Might be in some other planet. So everybody supports the system. So you can point out what people are doing, but you have to point to yourself, too, and say what you're contributing, because everybody contributes to supporting what they are already a part of. We're not a part of anything else.
Yes, sir.
It's not anything on the outside of the system of white supremacy.
All right.
Everything comes under them.
Okay. To be clear, if a so-called person that is called an Uncle Tom, and you see that is supporting the system of racism, white supremacy, should they be exposed as being the Uncle Tom that they are?
Well, I put it this way, and I have done this for years.
Okay.
Whenever I go Tom hunting, the first thing I do is look in the mirror, because that's Tom number one right there.
Yourself?
Yes. You're supporting the system. You can't get around it.
Okay.
You can't go around wearing the uniform of the system and go here and go there, and what the white supremacists tell you as a black person what money is and what money isn't, and how much money you have to do this. Just spending money or trying to get money, you're supporting the system. I mean, I don't see any black people going around rejecting money.
No.
So if you spend money, if you're trying to make some money, if you're trying to get a job to make some money, that's just one thing. But every time you're breathing, just being here on this planet, walking around in the prison yard, and the prison yard is the entire planet.
Yes, sir.
Anywhere you go, there's no such thing as going somewhere that you are not under the domination of the white supremacists. If you have color in your skin, you're under their dictatorship. There's not a spot on this earth where that's not true. And if a person says they know of a spot, I would like to know where it is.
Yes, sir. Okay. Alrighty, talktainmentradio.com. We go where you go. Download the talktainmentradio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. We are discussing the sixth area of people activity, which is politics. I'm up to law, politics. And if you'd like to call in, you may do so by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numero 7, MrBobby@gmail.com. If I said law, I meant politics. Wow. Let's go to Dr. Gmail. Let's go to Dr. McKinley. He said this. Mr. Fuller, I was surprised that none of the callers brought up Mr. Steve Stevens, the black male from Cleveland that shot and killed another black man out of his rage over his girlfriend leaving him or whatever it was. My question is, Mr. Fuller, did he operate in the maximum compensatory action or whatever the caller called a few weeks ago, instead of continuing on the run? He killed himself. He claimed to kill not only this, but other black men, but also he said that he had killed as many as 14 others. And if this doesn't fall under that, then how then would you classify his actions?
Well, I'm not familiar with any of that, what he's talking about, but I will say this about the use of the term maximum emergency compensatory action that comes under the ninth area of activity, war, counter-war. And I do not talk about that on the air or even in discussions with people, except according to the code itself. And that just allows me to do two things only when I'm talking: describe what it is and what it isn't. And this is specified in the ninth area of activity in the book. Why? Why is this? That on these broadcasts, I will not talk about the details of maximum emergency compensatory action, because it has to do with killing. Killing is serious business. So therefore, there can be what? No confusion. None. Not 1 ounce, not one shred of confusion. That shouldn't be contaminated in any way with any misunderstanding. Misunderstanding when it comes to war and counter-war is absolutely verboten. It's prohibited. It should be very clear when you start talking about people killing people, particularly if you're talking about people killing people deliberately, which is what war and counter-war is. So in the maximum emergency compensatory action for justice segment of the textbook for victims of white supremacy, everything is very, 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 very specific. So in order that specificity is not contaminated or confused, you have to avoid confusion in all areas of activity. But when you start talking about people killing people, you don't want any confusion at all under any circumstance about who does what, why they're doing it. This is very important. Who does what, how they're doing it, and why they're doing it. And so when you're talking about that particular segment of the compensatory code, and that is mentioned, you limit your remarks to what it is and what it isn't, and you don't correlate that in conversation with anything that's happening in the news.
Okay.
You don't point out. You don't say, well, that's what that was, or that, because that's a part of what is said in the code itself. That's a part of the code, a rigid part of the code. The only person that really knows about maximum emergency compensatory justice when they enact it is the person that enacts it. And no one else is supposed to make an assessment about it. But it has to meet very, 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 very strict criteria. in order to qualify for the title of maximum emergency compensatory action.
All right.
Quote, justice.
Justice. Okay. 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numero 7, mrbobby@gmail.com. Dr. Thompson wrote this. I agree with Mr. Fuller that we are all prisoners of war. Given that truth, why do we expect to have rights under the Constitution which does not apply to prisoners of war? The Geneva Convention has rules for prisoners of war. Can Mr. Fuller respond to this?
Well, since the compensatory counter-racist code applies to everybody on the planet, in different places you have different constitutions. I understand there are a lot of places that don't even have a constitution. So therefore, that's all very selective, meaning wherever you happen to be on the planet, you find out what the laws are that govern whatever your behavior is supposed to be, what the prison rules are under the system of white supremacy in that particular place. Before you do anything, you better find out what the laws are, what the driving laws are. You drive on the left side or the right side or whatever. And then you start acting accordingly and go as best you can to the prison masters, which are the white supremacists, and just like you do in every other area of activity or in any area of activity as a prisoner of war, you depend on your prison masters as long as you're a prisoner. And I like to use the movie, here again, the movie Shawshank Redemption, as a sort of a learning guide, you might say, for how you conduct yourself in a prison, using the principal character in the movie, character played by, I forgot the person's name, but he played the part of a prisoner that was incorrectly convicted, like non-white people throughout the planet have been incorrectly convicted by being people of color, because that's what the white supremacists did. They said, we're going to dominate people of color because they're the incorrect color. They are the color creatures that are supposed to be dominated and mistreated because of they have color in their skin. Dominated and mistreated by whom? By people that don't have color in their skin. Presumably people who are what you call non-color and are white people. And that's how the prison system was set up in the beginning. And that's a complete system. That system played out, and all non-white people, black, brown, red, yellow, beige, tan, came under the system of white supremacy, which is a prison system. So you're always beholden to the laws of that system, whatever those laws happen to be. And the white supremacists make up laws all the time. They make them up by the minute sometimes, or right off the top of their heads. Why? Because prison masters can do that. So you just work your way the best way you can in the use of the law. And if they say, well, you can use this law to do this and use that, well, look at it and see if you can get any benefit at all from it. Because you have to go along with it until you're what? No longer a prisoner. Like I obey the laws right now of just being able to have a book. The white supremacists, like in the movie Shawshank, the crooked warden, which is what a white supremacist is, they're crooks. They are not law-abiding, except the laws of white supremacy. They don't believe in justice. Justice is not about, white supremacy is not about justice. So the white supremacists have a prison system based on non-justice. So therefore, you're trying to change that prison system by making the prison system a non-prison system, by eliminating that prison system altogether, like Andy Dufresne did in Shawshank Redemption. He got access to the library, and then he asked for the library to be expanded. Well, in a way of speaking, I've done the same thing. When I came into the world, I found out that this part of the prison system of white supremacy, they allow me to read books. At one time, I couldn't read books, but they allowed me to read books at a certain time. So by the time I came along, I heard that the black people that came before me were not allowed to read. Then I was told that I was allowed to read. Then I was told that I was allowed to write. And so I write and I publish. And I talk against the system of racism. Why? Because the white supremacists allow me to. At any time, they can come around and say, you cannot speak against racism anymore. Speaking against racism is against the law that I make, because I make the laws here in my prison. So you can no longer, Neely Fuller, talk against racism. Now that means I have to not talk against racism until I can find a way to fight against racism by not talking against racism. I just have to find a way. That's the compensatory way. If you can't do one thing, you do another. That's why you have that incorporated in the title of the book, a compensatory counter-racist code. Compensatory means what? Making up for what you don't have. So if you don't have the privilege or the right to talk against racism, you compensate by trying to find another way to undermine racism, because that's what we're supposed to be doing all the time. Why? Because it never should have existed in the first place. This construct called racism, which is designed to mistreat people based on color. That's all it is. Dominate and mistreat people based on color. And that was a long-winded answer to the question. But basically, it's you just do the best with what you have.
Yes, sir.
They let you have a limited number of things, but you use that limited number of things as best you can against the force that is against you, and not against you just as a person, but against the thing you're supposed to be fighting for.
Yes, sir.
And that is what? Justice.
Justice. On page 171 at the bottom of the revised expanded edition, you wrote, every day, all day, wherever you are, ask yourself these four basic questions. What do I do? Why do I want to do what I do? How do I plan to do what I want to do? And what do I expect the constructive, and you have that underlined, the result to be? Could you quickly, I know you've addressed this before, but quickly in the remaining minute that we have in the first hour, could you explain that for those who are just now
Yeah,
listening?
So those four things will cover just about every situation. Well, I'll say they'll cover every situation that has to do with people. At any minute of the day, anywhere on the planet. I'm talking about any minute of any day as applies to any person anywhere on the planet.
Yes,
and
sir.
that is, what do you want to do? Because people want to do things. Why do you want to do it? And then number three, how do you plan to do what you want to do? And number four, what do you expect the constructive result to be? You
Yes.
should ask yourself those four questions all day, every day. Everybody on the planet should ask him or herself
Okay.
those four questions.
Thanks for listening to the first hour. TalkTainmentRadio.com, radio the way it should be heard. Stay tuned for the second hour.
You've got the power. The world's greatest radio. TalkTainmentRadio.com. Talktainment Radio, worldwide sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. Give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest, and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
This is the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Good morning and welcome to the second hour of the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. We are discussing the sixth area of people's activity, which is politics. If I had said law, excuse me, I had a couple of things in front of me, but we're discussing politics. I know we started off the show with it that way, but I may have slipped the law in. But law is part of the aspects of what Mr. Neely Fuller is talking about. In fact, all the 9 areas are. Anyway, this is TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go on the world's greatest radio, and you are in touch with the compensatory concept. So thank you for listening. I'm your co-host trying to get through this thing, Mr. Bobby, and we have Mr. Neely Fuller on the line, which you want to hear, and you will hear very shortly. And this is radio the way it should be heard. While you're there on the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage, hit that donate button so that we can continue on with the second hour of the compensatory concept. We have $3,800 there, so you're doing good, almost complete. 1-877-932-9766 is the number that you can call to get in, or you can Gmail me at the numeral number 7, Mr. Bobby, at BOBBY@gmail.com, and I will try to get through the emails. We have been able to get through a few of them, as a matter of fact. Let's go to one right now. This is from Dr. Lawson, and he says, Mr. Fuller, the fifth area, law, on page 166, he says, when Mr. Fuller suggests to blame racist man and racist woman for all things our offspring does, that is incorrect. Do we still hold our offspring accountable for their actions?
Do you hold your offspring accountable for their actions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, but you do it in a codified manner. Now, what do we mean by codified manner? Well, that is whatever you choose to do that's going to produce the constructive result. And I always say that it's best to talk to your offspring as equals. Why? Because according to the code, and everything should be done within the frame of reference of where we are in the world as victims of racism, you keep that in mind. All victims of racism are equal. Your offspring are actually equal to you. They are equal prisoners of war. All prisoners of war are equal, one to the other. Even though the white supremacists may see to it that they may choose to come and give some of their prisoners a little bit of so-called status, trustees they might call them and all like that, or they might let some prisoners out in the month of May to go and tar the roof of the prison or whatever, or to work on the outside, or to work in the wood workshop, or to work in the library. So these are just privileges that you get in the system of white supremacy, if you can call them that, if you want to put it in that frame of reference. But having offspring in the prison as a prisoner of war, which can happen, which does happen as prisoners of war, you just tell your fellow prisoner, which is your offspring, the best way to go about doing things, and try to get them to cooperate as best you can, because you really have no authority over them anyway, because you have to answer to an alien authority. So you're really not acting as a father or as a mother. The real, or the dominant fathers and mothers, or you might say the real fathers and mothers in a prison system, the fathers and mothers of everybody, or the prison masters of everybody who is a prisoner. That's the way a prison is set up. And we are in a prison. I keep using that term over and over again because it sticks. It's an accurate term. It's a truthful term. It's not a made-up term just to be cutesy or something like that. No, that's a true term. So I have no authority over my offspring. None. Why? Because there is an alien authority over me that's not nurturing. It's punishing me, and it's punishing my offspring. So I don't want to inflict double punishment on the offspring. So the The Offspring is just a cellmate. So I talked to the cellmate about the best way to operate in the cell. We have to keep the cell clean because, we don't want to, have to always be, making the situation worse than it is for our own comfort. And that's what you tell your cellmate, your fellow prisoner. You tell your fellow prisoner that you will help them and they can help you, like fellow prisoners are supposed to do. And they're prisoners of war. You're still wearing the uniform of the alien force, all right, according to the alien force. And that uniform is your color, all right? So you just try to get along with them as best you can. And I want to emphasize this. You definitely don't use violence against your offspring, period. And you don't use violent language. You just tell them the best way to go about doing things and tell them why. And explain to them that as a fellow prisoner of war, you have to cooperate with your fellow prisoner in order to increase your comfort level so that you can do things in a much better environment. Because why make yourself miserable and you're both confined? Because that's going to be the result. So your offspring has to understand that.
All right.
They're your co-workers, you might say, in this prison. You depend on each other. And you make that clear. We have to depend on each other. You have to take the trash out and whatnot. And I'll go and try to make the money. I mean, in order to have, things to break in here that bring into the cell, you might say, that, that is all wrapped up, bring in food or whatever, and we open up the food and we eat, and whatever we brought the food in, it has to be taken out. I mean, wrappers and whatnot, candy wrappers or whatever you have. Of course, you cut back on the candy, but your vegetable wrappers, your tomato wrappers and whatnot, and you take this out. And so you tell your offspring, and then you tell your offspring, you, at a certain age, can bring in something to contribute to the comforts here in the cell. I mean, after all, we're confined to a very small space by the prison masters. So we try to make it as comfortable as we possibly can. And all of our interactions should be pleasant here in the cell.
Yes, sir.
After all, we're right here. We're jammed together here. I mean, usually overcrowded in what we call ghettos. I mean, so therefore, try to get along with one another.
Yes, sir.
I mean, stop using all kind of disparaging language and shouting all the time and all that. Try to get along. Try to say the best possible things. Make people feel better. Not people, and certainly no violence.
No violence.
No violence.
Okay.
Period.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Line number 1. You are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller. What is your question?
Yes. Good morning. Good morning, everyone, brothers and sisters all over the world. My name is Anthony. I'm from Milledgeville, Georgia. My first question is, I have two. My first one is, should we hold the white supremacist offspring responsible for, I get into it a lot of times with suspected racists, and I often hear them say, well, hey, that was my great-great-great-grandfather that had your people in slavery, that made money. That wasn't me. So I don't have to listen to you talk about it, and I certainly don't owe you any reparations. So should we hold their offspring responsible? Should the president of the sugar company, who's super trillionaire rich, that's given the company from his great-great-great-grandfather that built it off the backs of our ancestors, should we hold them responsible?
Okay,
or do they have immunity?
Okay, Mr. Fuller?
No. You don't hold anybody to blame for something that somebody else did. But now the question is, what do we have now? The question is, do we have slavery now? And the answer is yes. What is slavery? See, that's what I mean by the definition of words. Someone raised the question some time ago, when does slavery end? And the answer is it didn't. As long as you have one person mistreating another, you have slavery. That's all slavery is. One person mistreating another. If I go out here and mistreat someone right now, during the period that person is being mistreated, even if it's for 5 minutes, that person is my slave. Why? Because the person is being mistreated. Slavery is nothing but synonymous with mistreatment. There's no such thing as slavery ending until mistreatment ends.
For everybody.
So, white supremacy is a slave system. So the question now is also, do we have white supremacy? The answer to that question is, according to the evidence, yes. So therefore, slavery didn't end because white supremacy didn't end. So yes, that person is guilty, suspected of being guilty. That's the way you say it when you use words, because there's no way you can prove that the person is guilty. You got nobody to prove it by.
But they're suspected.
You say, you are. If you're white and you're able to practice racism, you should be suspected of being a racist if you're able to be one.
Okay.
Right now in 2017 on this planet. Why? Logically speaking, because the only system of government on the planet is the system of white supremacy. There's no other form of government. So any white person who is able to be a racist probably is one. You can't prove that the person is one, but you can't prove that the person is not one. All right? So that makes the person a what? Racist suspect.
Suspect, yeah.
Right.
What's
That's
your second
the term.
What's your
Racist suspect.
Oh.
Never call a white person a racist. Why? Because you have no way of proving it.
Okay.
Don't ever do that.
Question number 2.
Question number 2 is, in the movie Saving Private Ryan, which I hear you reference a lot, and it was one of my favorite movies, do you recall the scene where the two soldiers, one of the German soldiers and the American soldier were up there in the room fighting, and one of the soldiers had been shot in the neck. He was on the floor rolling around, and it was one soldier, American soldier, that had to was on the steps, and he was too scared to come up the stairs. Do you remember that scene, Mr. Fuller?
I saw the scene.
Okay. Now, in that scene, that soldier's inability to administer aid to a fellow soldier caused, this soldier, one of the most powerful scenes in the movie, caused this soldier's untimely demise. All he had to do was come up and be a soldier, as I often heard you say, be a soldier. If you shouldn't be a soldier, you shouldn't be out here. And I remember the character played by Tom Hanks pulled this cowardly character from his post as a reporter. So basically, he shouldn't even have been in a combat situation. So I guess my question is there some level, I know we all are Toms, I can see that analogy perfectly clear. Is there some Tomming that is more detrimental to becoming codified or the battle that we are fighting than other forms of Tomming? And should those different degrees of Tomming be defined?
Okay, thank you for your question. Mr. Fuller?
No, all victims of racism are equal. They make their own decisions, and they definitely make their own decisions when it comes to killing. I mean, you don't let anybody talk you into killing anybody else. I don't care what the circumstances are. That's a choice you have to make. And really, that's the way it should be all over the world, all the time. One person should not have the power to force another person to kill a third person. We want to abolish that all over the world. That's a part of the code. You want to get to the place, that's a mindset. Killing should be made serious business. We take killing as being something like this, eating an ice cream cone. I mean, little articles in the paper, I mean, every day. I mean, so-and-so got killed last night. Well, so what? Hang some candles on the fence, and next killing in the next 15 minutes. Under the system of white supremacy, that's the way everybody's got about killing. In fact, we look in the newspapers, and they say there was an explosion in the mines the other day. How many people were killed? Well, it looks like, it might be as high as 75, but right now, it's just reported 25. But it might go as high as 75. People have gotten to the place now where they look for that 75 to be the figure. they'll look in the paper the next day and say, hey, is it more now than it was yesterday? I mean, we've gotten to the place we have this bloodlust. I mean, killing. Somebody got killed. I mean, how many people got killed in the car wreck? I mean, it was a chain reaction and whatnot in a fog. Well, it looks like, the casualty rate is pretty low. But everybody looks in the paper and looks in the paper and looks in the paper, and if it turned out that nobody got killed, I mean, really, we're kind of taught in this system to say, you mean to tell me 212 cars were wrecked in that fog, in that bridge area, and nobody got killed? When they were expecting the ambulances, to be running and running and running and running, nobody even got injured. Oh, no, that's not supposed to happen. We kind of look for it to happen. We want it to happen. They had a term for it back in the 1940s. I forgot what it was. Morbid curiosity. I think that's what it is.
Morbid curiosity.
Like the person who is standing up on the building and he's saying, I'm going to jump.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody crowds around, and we have been trying to train that if that person changes his mind or he was just joking, we get angry. I mean, I ran out here, I thought I was going to see something, and the chump didn't jump. I'm disappointed.
Morbid curiosity.
That's the way, yes, morbid curiosity. I mean, and we have been trained that way, to be lovers of death. And this is why all of our, bookstores are full of mystery novels and all like that. The headless corpse, the body in the attic, Mary is missing, and everybody's deep down, they say, when she's rescued, that she turned out not to be missing. She went to a party, didn't come home. At a gut level, we are trained to be disappointed. Oh, I thought Mary was missing. I thought somebody killed her. She just went to a party and didn't come home. Yes. Oh, well, that ain't no news.
TalkTameRadio.com is a 24/7, no-charge, worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news and lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, here's several shows that I will share with you. At the Table is one of them, Urban Flow, and, of course, Senior Agenda. All you have to do is go to the TalkTameRadio.com homepage and click on Programs, and there you will find the scheduled times. All this is exclusive to TalkTameRadio.com. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. We are discussing the sixth area of people activity, which is politics, and you are welcome to join the conversation at 1-877-932-9766, or you can call me or Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. Concerning shenanigans, one of our Gmailers wrote, he says this, Mr. Fuller, he says, for all those who can and are willing, I suggest that we purchase a copy of your book once per month. It will cost less than a monthly cable bill or cell phone bill. Share the podcast. If an individual wants to learn more, give or loan them a copy. We have the attention of those who do not want this program, Mr. Fuller, to be successful. They don't want your message heard, but this is how we can spread the word and share the shows. This comes from Dr. Lawson. And while we're on that, could you briefly speak to your book, since he did address this briefly?
Yes, the book can be gotten by going to producejustice.com. Just go to producejustice.com. And everything you need to know about how to get the book in Canada and in the so-called continental United States, you can go to producejustice.com. I'm trying to make arrangements to expand it worldwide. Next stop will be the United Kingdom, hopefully. But right now, you can get the book by going to producejustice.com in both Canada and the so-called continental United States.
All righty.
And the book is directed, it's tailored with the intention of having the individual person be empowered. The individual victim of racism as an individual, because the concept is if you empower each individual, you empower all individuals in the correct manner, in the constructive manner, to produce an overall constructive result. And that's the concept.
Okay. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Line number 1. You are now on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Mr. Bobby, could you please stop referring to everybody as doctor? It doesn't. It only adds to maximum confusion.
What is your question, sir?
My question is, could you please stop referring to the callers and writers as doctor, because it only adds to confusion.
I will take that as your suggestion. Now, do you have a question for Mr. Fuller?
No, I don't.
Okay. Thank you very much for your thank you very much for your call. Okay, let's go to the let's see, go to another Gmail. It says wait a minute. Okay, this is again concerning your book, Mr. Fuller. It says, hi, I have been trying to purchase some of Mr. Neely Fuller's book, and I'm not having any luck. Do you have any ideas how I can order them to the UK, or where in the UK can I get them? Thank you.
No place right now. No place in the UK. No place in the United Kingdom, in England, etc. But there's somebody who is working on this. It was supposed to have been done last December, but they ran into some glitches, and they're supposed to be working on it, and I've been told, now the next projected date is something like about a month and a half away from now. Now that's what I've been told, but I've been told this before, back in December, but they ran into some problems, the people who are working on it, and so they say it's now about a month and a half away from right now, here in May of 2017. So presumably about the middle of July, it should be available in the United Kingdom, principally the place called England.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the latest report I have right now. I'd like for that to go out all over the air, that it probably will be available as of now about the mid-July of 2017
okay.
in the United Kingdom.
Okay, that's good. Okay. All righty, 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. Let's go to another Gmail while we're waiting for a call. This is, okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let's see here. Okay. If we can get those on here before we go to this. Okay, line number 1. You are now on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead.
I just have a comment to make. This is Johnita from Columbus, Ohio. This is a comment about the last caller. Obviously, he has not been listening to the program because you, Mr. Bobby, have not referred to people as doctors in a very long time. So I just want to make that known to the caller.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your call.
And one more thing.
Yes.
I just want to say that you guys are doing an excellent job at getting the message across.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Yeah, when I use the term doctor, I'm only using it as a term of endearment. We know that most people call in are not doctors. But anyway, let's go to the Gmails. Thank you for your call, caller. This is from Dr. Taylor. She says this, Mr. Fuller, you stated there are only 3 people in the known universe. They are either white, non-white, and a white supremacist. When a white person does something wrong without the intention of causing harm to a non-white person, does that make them now a white supremacist? In other words, are there varying degrees between a white person and a white supremacist? If so, what are they?
Well, white supremacist is any person that does harm to a non-white person willfully and deliberately and unjustly. That's based on the person's color. Willful, deliberate, and with the result being something that is non-justly harmful. Any white person that does that, or any white person who is a part of the system that allows this to happen. And this white person is not during those moments when the white person is not actively working against that system. That person should be suspected of being a white supremacist. The code position is any person classified as white and who functions as white, who is able, the key word here is able to be a racist, should be suspected, underline should be suspected of being one. And this is not harsh. Mm-hmm. This is just the way that it is. That's the white supremacist's fault. They set up a system like that where you're supposed to recognize people by color. I mean, they have a so-called census. I mean, almost all over the world, from what I understand, where you judge people by color. I mean, that is a classification. What's your color? What is your color? Sometimes on licenses and all like that. In order to get a license, they'll say, what color classification do you belong to? This is real important. We have to know that before we can take any kind of action one way or another.
Yes, sir.
I mean, and this is something that's invented by the white supremacists. Not, along with what your height is, what your weight. Now that means something. I mean, what your height is and what your weight. I mean, and probably in getting a job, you might have to be a certain height, or you might have to weigh a certain thing. But what's this color business? That's something that was invented. Invented by whom? The usual suspects, the white supremacists. They're the ones that came up with all this confusion and all this harshness based on the color of a person's skin.
Yes, sir. All righty. TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go. Check us out on WGRN 94.1. Podcasts are available. You can download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Stay right there. We have more of your phone calls and a couple of nice Gmails. Thank you for your support. All this and more coming up. TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Our on-air topic this week is politics. It will be that way for several weeks. If you'd like to get in contact with the show, you may do so by calling 1-877-932-9766. Or you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY at gmail.com. Chances are if you use that route, I probably will not get to read that email today. I'm jammed up here with at least 20. But at some point, they will be addressed. While you're on the homepage, hit the donate button. It's right next or right underneath the phone number, and you can donate any amount. They are all tax deductible, and it is what helps keep the second hour of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Fuller online and for broadcast. So thank you. A few acknowledgments before we go to the phone call. Thank you, Dr. Love, for your kind words, and also the doctor from Michigan. Thank you for your support. Thank you very much. Okay. And listening to the show, by the way, we thank you. Let's go to the phone line. Line number 1.
Yes, sir. You got me?
Okay, you're on. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, thank you, sir. It's been said many, many moons ago America is the only nation in history that has gone directly from barbarism to degeneration without the usual interval of civilization. So America has never been civilized. They've been uncivilized since people have known them. Now, prison. Mr. Fuller said we all in a prison. I would agree. But in a prison.
Do you have your radio on in the background, sir? Because I'm here.
No, sir. I sure don't.
Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I thought I heard some background.
Well, you might have heard some, but it's not. I don't have the volume up.
Okay.
But ahead. Mr. Fuller said we all in a prison. I would agree. Also in a prison, let's realize this. In a prison, the man can come in and kill everybody in that prison whenever he gets ready. Now, this brings me to my final point.
Okay.
These police killings of us are political assassination. Remember that. They are political assassination. They have a political agenda. It's government-sponsored murder and terror. And these Caucasians now who are killing black people and doing things to them, these are not hate crimes. That's what the man wants you to think. He wants you to say hate crime, but he don't want you to say this is terrorism. Like the boy go down in a church, kill 9 black people, leave one of them alive, say, I want you to go tell them what I did. Nobody calls it a hate crime, a terrorism. Your black president don't call it terror. Your black politician, Congress, they don't call it terror. Only person call it terror is somebody on a talk show. Why they don't call this terrorism? They don't call it terrorism because we can't be terrorized. Black people can't be terrorized. That's what the man is telling us. I lynch you, that ain't terror. I castrate you, that ain't terror. I kill your children, bomb your church, that ain't terror, boy. You can't be terrorized. That's what the man is telling us. Now, why is the man doing that? Because he has a greater evil waiting for us. He don't want the world to know we're being terrorized. He want to lead us all the way up to the final assault, which is going to be, my brother and Mr. Fuller, our extermination. This is what they are working up to, and it is going to explode. That's what is going to happen. And I know we've been a systematic genocide, burning your town, stealing your invention, 400 years of free labor. That is systematic genocide. I understand that.
All right,
but that's systematic genocide, brother. Real quick, that systematic genocide, it goes over into extermination because they don't need you no more.
Okay.
Thank you, brother.
You're welcome. All right, that's our brother. He calls in. He's affectionately known as Extermination Man. He's a very good brother, very good call. Mr. Fuller would classify that under VGQ. Let's see here. Let's go to the phone lines. Okay, you're on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Mr. Fuller. What if you were going to open up a business? I just saw where Donald Trump, since we're talking about politics, released his budget that includes $800 billion in cuts, mainly in the poor. Mainly, which you think about poor in this country, it's mainly non-white people, and some white. But among those cuts, $800 billion in Medicare, disability cuts. So the economy of the black community is going to be affected greatly. If you had to go into business, or if you had to produce something, I hear you say that all the time. What would you produce, or what type of business would you go into, or have you given any thought to that?
Okay, Mr. Fuller?
I always give thought to it, and I usually come up pretty empty because in this prison called the system of white supremacy, black people are not encouraged to have any kind of business other than just being told what to do one day after the next. The educational system is not set up so that you come out with some type of paper in your hand saying, now, you take this paper and go here and go there and go to this place and that place, and you will be welcome, and you will be able to turn this piece of paper into something called money that you can buy things with. But you're usually not told that. You're not even given information that will lead you in that way. And it's getting to be more and more that way from the information that I'm getting. They're not preparing you for anything except just to stand there with a bewildered look on your face. And this is the month of May in the Northwestern Hemisphere when a lot of people are coming, marching across the stage, shaking hands, and doing some high-fiving, and getting a piece of paper in their hands that says, now you are ready to take on the world. You are ready. You are well prepared. And this piece of paper validates it. That bring it on because the world is now your oyster. That's what you are being told indirectly. But there's all kind of question marks there. Where do I go? Whom do I talk to? Now, I tell people that in a compensatory way, try to think of, just by studying what's going on around you, how do people go about paying their bills? How do people get the most out of what they do know, or get the most out of what they can learn in order to have what you might call a degree of comfort, what we sometimes call making a living, quote unquote. How do you go about doing that? Well, you try to come up with something that people want or need. And so if you talk about going into business, think about what people want and what people need, and try to produce something that will have a constructive effect. Usually the white supremacists in the Northwestern Hemisphere, since the 1960s, they told black people, well, we're not going to have any factory jobs for you. We're not going to have this. We're not going to have anything. No more farming and nothing like that. That's all big business and whatnot that requires very few people. So what's left? We'll let you play around with some drugs. We'll provide the drugs and we'll provide the guns so you can terrorize your neighbors and whatnot in connection with the drugs. And that will be what we might call black employment. Sign up here. Get your drugs and your guns, and you'll be dead at 27 or 28 or before you reach 30. And that's all our plan. That's the employment plan we have, particularly for black males. Black females, well, you can be part-time prostitutes all over the world like you always have been, and you can continue to do that in one form or another, because we're not going to give you the type of jobs that can provide enough money for you to have a couple of children without you having to compromise yourself greatly. That's always been the plan, and it looks like that's the plan now. So in this prison system, you try to work the prison system as best you possibly can, like prisoners do. They nickel and dime, or whatever, and try to cut back on your spending. Cut back on these celebrations and whatnot, where you spend money just because somebody put a date on a calendar and say, now this is the date to go out and spend. You go out and do this door busting, they call it. Line up, to get the latest thing that somebody else is selling. No. Get out of that line. Decide early on, do I really need this? Do I really need it? Is it going to be of any constructive value? Or am I just buying into the hype? No. Wear the clothes that you have. I always say, somebody once said that, about clothing. They were talking about, and really the remark was made to me. Somebody said, Fuller, what's that you got on? And I said, what? He said, that's out of style. I said, how can it be out of style and I got it on?
Okay.
Now, that was a codified response, really. If I'm wearing it, it can't be out of style. I got evidence it's not out of style because I'm wearing it.
Because you're wearing it. All righty.
So don't try to keep up with the styles. Make a style. Make a style out of what you got.
Frugality. Live a frugal life.
All right. Thank you so much for your call, caller. Thank you for all the calls, as a matter of fact. Let's go here to the, let's see, oh, wait a minute. I have to do this. TalkTimeAtRadio.com. We go where you go, and you can download the TalkTimeAtRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Our topic this week is politics. It will be that way for several weeks here. You can call in 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby at gmail.com, and we do appreciate your Gmails, and we do appreciate all of your calls. Okay, let's see here. This comes from Dr. Taylor, and she says, years ago, Mr. Fuller, you stated that you should call people or address people by the name they want to be called or addressed by. Could you please explain why you say this?
Because that's very important. To do otherwise is name calling. That comes under the 10 stops. Stop name calling. That causes a whole lot of problems. So what do? You call people by the names and titles that they want to be called. That's basic politics. Always call a person by the name and or title that the person asks you to call him or her. A person might come into the workplace and say, my name is Kim Hutchins. All right? Okay, so that's the person's name. Okay, so you call the person, you want me to call you Kim? You want me to call you Miss Hutchins? Do you want me to call you Hutchins? What do you want me to call you? Well, you can call me Kim. Okay? So that's what you call the person. Now, suppose the person comes in 3 weeks later and says, my name is Alicia Muhammad, And you say, well, I thought your name was Kim Hutchins. Say, well, I decided to go under the name of Alicia Muhammad. And that's my name now. And that's what I want you all to call me. Now, somebody might take the so-called attitude of, that ain't your name. I'm going to call you by by the name that you told me you were. Now, that ain't your name. That's some type of pseudonym that you came up with. For whatever reason you came up with it, just in the last 2 weeks. No. If the person changes his or her name every 5 minutes, just find out what the latest name is and call the person by that name or that title. That's basic politics. That's basic courtesy. The code says you always be courteous. Always don't let anyone be more courteous than you are in every circumstance, regardless of whether the person is white or non-white. Now, what about that name calling when somebody calls you a name? People can call you any name that you want to be called, but you let the person know what you prefer to be called. But if the person wants to call you some kind of nickname and all like that, that's on them. You have already announced the name or the title that you want to be called. And the person just keeps calling you by some name that they chose to call you. Hey, Mac, talking about you. Say, are you talking to me? Yeah, I call you Mac. Well, Mac is not my name. My name is Mr. Johnson or Mr. Jones. Or you can call me Jonesy or whatever. I mean, a lot of people do and all like that. No, I'm going to call you Mac. Well, that's their choice. Now, will you answer to that name? Well, that's your choice, too. You can answer to Mac. I always say a person can call me by any name that they want to. Why? Because that's their choice. That's their choice. And I'll respond to the name I think is they're talking to me, but I just want to know what they're talking to me. If the person calls me Mac on the job, hey, Mac, I've already told them what my name is, but if they choose to call me Mac and want me to respond by being called Mac, out of courtesy, I'll just respond to Mac. So that's what you choose to call me, so I'll respond to the name Mac, even though I've told you that's not my name. But I'll respond to it. But that's my choice.
Yes, sir. Okay. That very good explanation there. While we're let me say this. Thank you to the technicians that have worked to get this situation correct. Just want to give a shout out to them. They are people behind the scenes, and you don't know these people, and I'm not going to call their names, but thank you for getting it so that we can get this thing back to where it is supposed to be on radio the way it should be heard. All right, thank you. This comes from Dr. Miller, and he says this, Mr. Fuller, as always, I beg the creator of the both known and unknown universe that this message finds you, Mr. Fuller, in the best condition, experiencing the maximum amount of justice possible. With that being said, I would like to rapidly break down a situation that occurred to me the other day at work and why I'm so thankful for you, Mr. Fuller, for your wisdom. I had a team of data center engineers both here in the U.S. and in India. I'm very accustomed to working with other cultures and tend to get along with most non-American people quite well. Luck would have it, it blew my gasket with my overseas guys yesterday. I blew my gasket with the overseas guys yesterday in a way that brought me much shame later. I dropped a few choice words, Mr. Fuller, but not the F-bomb, as Mr. Fuller has pretty much assisted in getting that out of my system. Later in that evening, I picked up my compensatory code, and it literally landed on page 66, instructing us to, quote, control your temper, end of quote. Good gracious alive, it struck me like a thunderbolt. In an effort to keep this short, I'm sharing Mr. Fuller's message with many that think deeper than most, and not because he feels some type of way, but because of the painful truth of the matter is, even as a victim in this awfully nefarious system, acting with dignity and honor may not get it all fixed, but we all have a part if we understand our actions often help reinforce the unjust system. Thank you, Mr. Fuller, for teaching us not just about the evil system, but how the evil system has taught so many of us to act so barbarically. Mr. Fuller?
Well, that comes under VGQ, and I accept the thanks, but the thanks should go to this logic. I mean, logic came with the universe, cause and effect. That's what logic is. So you want to get the best effect out of whatever it is you say and do. And using profanity, I mean, sometimes, most of the time, it has been my observation, does not get the effect, the constructive effect that it should have. In fact, it says in the code book that you avoid the use of profanity. Stop cursing. That's one of the 10 stops. Don't curse anybody out ever. I mean, don't do that. Don't call people names. Call people the name that they want to be called, even when they call you a name that you prefer not to be called. Call that person by the name that that person wants to be called. And do not use profanity toward a person. It's not the best way of communicating. You know, the best way of communicating with anybody, really, basically, is to do what? Ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
And try to come up with constructive answers to the questions that are asked you. And that's the procedure. That's basic communications. That's basic politics, since we're in the political area now.
Okay.
I mean, interacting with people in a manner that gets rid of what? That tackiness and that trashiness and that terroristic way of handling things when you interact with people.
Okay. 1-877-932-9766 is the call-in number, or you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, mrbobby@gmail.com. This is from Dr. Narsesi. My question is as follows, Mr. Fuller. Suppose you discovered that the system of white supremacy was a problem that could not be solved. Do you personally feel like that would be a world worth living in?
Do I personally feel that what?
He said, it says, suppose you discovered that the system of white supremacy was a problem that could not be solved, do you personally feel that it would not be a world not worth living in?
Oh, no. If that was a problem that couldn't be solved, I would just try to adjust to it and try to figure my way through it. But I don't know of a problem that can't be solved that people made. It's just like now some things like tornadoes and hurricanes, some people say that people have, on account of their conduct, they bring that on and whatnot. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. But now, you stay here and put up with those things because you're here. You're given assignments. That's my belief. We're all given an assignment. And we are put here with, and under certain circumstances. And what is that assignment? Problem solving. Why? Because we come into the world that is full of problems.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is the problem that each individual is supposed to be solving? And the logical procedure would be, according to the code, the one that's right in front of you. That's why you were put there in that particular place at that particular time. Wherever you are right now, if you are a person on this planet, you should be in a problem-solving mode. Why? Because you probably have a number of problems. Now, what problems? The ones that are right in front of you. That's why you were put where you were put. You could have been put some other place on some other planet, 10 trillion miles away. On some other planet. With another set of problems, or with no problems. But since you were put here on this planet by something, some force, some creator that gave you arms, legs, a nose, fresh air to breathe, and lungs to breathe it into and out of to keep you going, a heart that pumps, this is some pretty first-class equipment that has all been given to you. Given to you for what? To solve problems. Why was it given to you to solve problems? Because you have problems. Those problems are right there in front of you. So the biggest problem for people of color is the problem of racism. So you assume that since you are given this problem, the problem can be solved. In direct answer to the question, I assume this problem can be solved. Someone told me some years ago, Fuller, you might as well give up. The problem of race cannot be solved. It can only be discussed. And I thought about that for a few minutes. And I said, yeah, I got to take that into consideration. Maybe it can't be solved. But when I thought about it, I said, wait a minute. Racism is put together by people. And then another thing, why discuss a problem that cannot be solved? I said, so I will continue to discuss it because I'm assuming that it can be solved. Why? Because it was produced by people. And the logic is anything produced by people, anything that's built by people, can be taken apart by people.
All righty. That is true. Well, let's do this. Dr. J, Dr. Bartholomew from Houston, Dr. Jordan, Dr. J, Dr. Root, Dr. Myrto, Dr. Anthony, and the doctor from Michigan. Listen, I did not get a chance to get to your Gmails today, but I'm looking at them, and they are right up. So hopefully next week we can be able to get to them. We were able to get through a few of them. Listen, thank you for listening.
For sure.
Yeah, and thank you for your calls. We really appreciate that. Thank you for your donations. TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio, and radio the way it should be heard. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Mr. Fuller.
Thank you.